Well, hey everybody, it's Mike Sullivan with Born to Shine. Today we have an awesome guest. Her name's Kathleen Hermsmeyer, and she is the superintendent over at Springs Charter Schools, which is in beautiful Southern California in Temecula. And
Yeah.
Kathleen, thank you so much for carving out some time with us today.
Well, I appreciate being asked. Thank you for asking me on.
Yes, ma'am. And what was your journey like to become the superintendent with a lot of people looking up to you, Kathleen, for your leadership, for your guidance, for your wisdom? What was your journey like? I have a feeling it's going to be pretty interesting because
Ah,
pre-podcast you were sharing you moved around a lot. So
yes, yeah. Well, I mean, I always knew I wanted to work with kids. I love kids. Um, kids always like me. And I like them, So I knew I wanted to work in education, and um, I thought I was going to be a doctor, and then I was a candy striper that we used to call them back in the big 80s. And I went into the hospital and I just hated every moment of it. I hated the smell of the hospital. I hated the work I saw everybody doing. I was like, no, I can't live my career in the hospital. And
mm,
I had been a camp counselor for years and loved that whole thing, living with the kids, getting to know the kids, and going and doing fun activities. So I teaching was a natural thing for me. But my journey to superintendent was really, I mean, it's basically a series of opportunities that you have to say yes to, right? So
mm,
you could say, well, no, I don't really know enough. I'm not experienced enough. I mean, did I have those thoughts? Yes, I always did, of course. Like I bluffed my way into a job, and I rose to the occasion.
mm.
I bluffed my way into a job teaching computer studies in England when I was 23 years old. I have my master's degree in computer-based ed from 1989.
Mm.
And so just so that you know what computer-based ed was in 1989, it was, Oregon Trail and Mickey's, space adventure and, math blasters. There was no internet.
Mm.
It was a very, very different sort of thing. And so, but I was able to get this great job at an international school, which gave me, and then it was only a temporary 1 year job teaching the computers while the person who had originally taught the computers did some large scale projects computerizing their systems pre-internet. So it was back in 89, 90. 91. Anyway, and so then I had the opportunity to plan, develop, and open a kinder through third grade program because this school only went fourth through 12th. And so,
Mm.
was I capable at that point of developing and planning and opening? No, I was not. But they did send me to a variety of conferences, and I had this opportunity, and you know, I had a lot of enthusiasm, and so that covers a lot of sins, enthusiasm. And so saying yes to opportunities in your life to grow and stretch is the way you get success, in my opinion. And so you have to take that leap of faith and move out of your comfort zone, right?
Yeah.
But um, but yeah, so when it came to Springs, I started when I was hired for the job. I didn't actually open the schools to begin with the first school. Now we have 8 schools. I opened all of these schools, these 8. But I said yes to the opportunity to become the executive director, even though all the things weren't fleshed out. We only had 17 students.
Mm.
They had 2 teachers hired, and so that was in 2000, and now we're here in 2025, almost 2026, and we have almost 13,000 students. So it's been a great process.
That's amazing from
So, I mean, so
17
sometimes people
employees.
will say, well, you're the superintendent. I can't tell you. You're the superintendent. They get freaked out by my title, but I don't feel that, I'm just an educator just like them. And I have a different role in the organization. But we're all doing the work to keep alternative free public school alternatives the in the community because not every child thrives in the traditional system. So
I love it. I love how, so it's 25 years of taking the students total of
yeah,
17 to over
yeah,
12,000 is
yeah.
phenomenal. So way to go, Kathleen. That's
And
amazing.
it's because partly the reason that for our growth is because we're providing a program that is a need in the community, but the districts wouldn't provide, which
Mm.
is basically a hybrid program that merges homeschool with
Mm.
days in the classroom. So the children, most of our programs, the children come anywhere between 2 to 4 days a week at the center in a classroom setting, and then they homeschool. We call it home study days, where they do homeschooling with their child the other days. And this is something people want. They want more time with their children. They want to make more of an impact on their children. But they also, a lot of them don't want to do all the heavy lifting of full-time homeschooling. So, and they don't want their kids to not have those experiences either. You know, it's kind of the best of both worlds sort of a program. So,
I love that. This is the first time I've heard that. I've been blessed to connect with a lot of superintendents like you, Kathleen, but this is the first time I've heard of a hybrid. I love it,
yeah.
in person and at home. So
Yeah.
that is really
Yeah. And I'll tell you, my daughter went to a hybrid program, actually not mine, but a different one, a different charter school in our community. And she was 1 day a week at home, and I planned my work from home day that day.
hmm,
So we would sit at the dining room table, and she would do her work, and I would do we'd have lunch together. It was, you
hmm,
know, when the way the families are so busy now, and the weekends get crazy with all the travel sports and all the things that people do with their kids on the weekends and
right.
it becomes family time, but it's not the kind of quiet family time that you get with some homeschooling home study days. So anyway,
Love it.
it was a nice time to bond with a teenager, and
Yeah.
and she's my youngest of four, and I knew that it was soon coming to an end, and it was
Mhm.
sort of a sweet time. So
That is so
yeah,
beautiful. That is really cool. I love
yeah.
it. And then, when you were a kiddo, Kathleen, when you were K through 12, was there anything that you struggled with? For me, it was depression, it was anxiety, I was bullied, I had ADD. I just really struggled. Was there anything when you were a kiddo that you struggled with?
Well, I grew up in a house where we moved all the time.
Mm,
We originally, my dad was, transferred for his job, and then later, after he ended up leaving that job, he would flip houses.
mm,
So this required a lot of changes at school. This was the olden days when parents didn't, their world did not revolve around their children. My parents' world did not revolve around their children. I'm the youngest of five, and uh, they just were like, "You're going to be fine at this new school. It doesn't matter what school you go to." And so I
mm,
had to make friends over and over and over again.
mm.
I think I went to seven different elementary schools, for example, to give you
Wow.
a feeling for this. Two middle schools. I went to one high school, and they were going to move, and I graduated a year early, so to avoid
Move.
uh, another jumping into another high school. Can you imagine moving
Mm,
into a new high school as a
mm,
senior?
mm, mm.
Um, I don't know. I didn't want to do it. So I graduated early and went to college and then had a lovely 4 years at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo.
Oh,
So
cool. Yeah, that's
yeah,
beautiful
yeah,
there. Beautiful
yeah,
part of California.
yeah. It
And
was before it got so hard to get in. Now, back in those days, it was a little easier to get in. So
that is
yeah.
great. Well, good thing that was undisturbed. That was 4 years, right? And you didn't come
Yes, it
across.
was, but what it did teach me is my family was a very solid unit. Um, we had my mother and father were both real steady people, and and my siblings, we had a pretty good relationship growing up. And so it was about family, and I knew who I was because I was grounded in that at home. So even though I was going to these new schools and trying to, for example, I never learned my timetables because I moved from one school where they hadn't gotten to it yet to another school where they had already learned it. And so all my life I've been doing these workarounds. I'm still okay doing it, but I don't have the timetables memorized. And anyway, I don't know. That was just one little thing, little hole in my education there. But I read Of Mice and Men twice because we moved. So anyway, it's just stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you learn how to make friends, and but they were never really great friends. Like
Mm,
uh, you know, everything, all the relationships of friends become a little superficial when you don't have a lot of time
right.
with the people.
Right. Right.
So I wanted my children, we've lived in the same house for 25 years, and my
Good.
children have all got, they've all had the same friend group their whole lives, because I didn't want to do that to them. But
Yeah.
even though, even though I do feel like it benefited me in some ways.
Yeah, I get that, and it's great that you wanted to pour that into your children, that stability, that we're here, I'm
Yeah,
not going to pull you out and put you in a
yeah,
new school, and so
yeah,
that's great. And then, if we had a magic wand, it's just a fun, silly question, but there's actually some importance to it. To support your students with their emotional health, their mental health. Kids are struggling. You were blessed with an unusually and in a good way stable family, and
yes,
that's
yeah,
the exception, not really the rule, which is a blessing to you.
yeah.
But for so many people that are just struggling, and kiddos, if we had a magic wand and can do anything, in addition to the SEL teams and the wonderful counselors, my girlfriend's a counselor. Love her, love what she
Yeah.
does, love that you did that too. What other things to dream big? What would you love to see more of in this school year to support your kiddos?
Well, I guess for us, our schools are all based on personalized learning, and we do believe that involving the parents in those days. Who personally loves the child more than the parents, right? So that's uh, uh, and they are one-on-one instructing on those days, so they can, really um, get get down to the base of any issues with academics. But beyond that, our school day is built around the idea that everybody should, staff and students should feel a great sense of belonging at Springs. That's one of our big, hairy, audacious goals at Springs. And so we do some things mindfully to get there, like community circles in the morning where we talk about how things are going and, how we're dealing with the stress or dealing, like during testing and things like that. We don't bring puppies in like the colleges do, but that would be great if we could
It
find
is great. I
puppies.
was just at an
Uh,
elementary school
but
that was
you
awesome.
know, but I think the number one is making sure that all of the staff you hire at the school has a heart for children,
Hmm.
really loves kids, and understands that when kids are acting out, it's not personal against them. Sometimes we see adults who take it personally when kids are misbehaving. Um, a lot of times we teach our staff that behavior is a teachable moment, and it's a reaction to a variety of triggers or whatever is going on with the child and whatever they've learned in their home life, which we never know.
Hmm.
So the best, I think, if I could wave a magic wand, and what would we do in California for the education system would be to ensure that we have counselors at every single school, which we do at our
Hmm.
school system.
Hmm.
We have
Hmm.
counselors at every single school because the children's needs are greater now. And then in addition to that, that the teacher stays with the child longer. So for us, looping, we don't even though I believe firmly in looping, that we call it looping when the kid stays with the same teacher for 2 years or more.
Hmm.
we know that that is a way to build really great relationships with a teacher and with children is to have um, the kids get to know the teacher for multiple years, at least 2 years. And so a number of our programs do loop. And in some cases, we have a Montessori program in Murrieta where they loop 3 years. And so that means the children stay with the same teacher, the same system, the same everything. And there are some ins and outs of other kids because it's a first through third grade, say, multi-age class. But so kids are coming in every year, some new ones, but
Hmm.
then they become the teachers of the younger children. And so it is a very nurturing environment for our students. And there's no feeling of like I'm the dumbest in the class because, where you sometimes if you have a straight third grade class, you know, if you ask a bunch of kids in third grade who's the best reader in the class, who's the worst reader in the class, they will tell you.
Mm,
Third grade is when they look around, they start to realize where they fall in the pecking order
mm,
of,
mm.
and these things, some children just they develop that later. It's not like they're going to always be a poor reader,
Right, right,
And so um anyway, so we like the multi-age class in that it provides a much more self-esteem boosting environment where children are continually learning and growing and they're setting their goals and they're working towards those goals and they're feeling that sense of self-esteem to see how much better they are than they used to be, but they're not just in this cutthroat competitive sort of environment that sometimes some classrooms become.
right. Yeah, and it's beautiful because it sounds like there's some peer-to-peer support as well, which is really cool.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And then, if there's something that's on your heart, Kathleen, that you're thinking, why didn't Michael ask me this? I wanted to share this, and Michael didn't ask me. What's on your heart? If there's a mom or dad that's watching this, if there's a teacher watching this, maybe another superintendent in another part of the country, or even a student, what would you say to her or him? Just some words of encouragement, maybe, or whatever's on your heart.
I guess I would say that children develop um, I mean, our job is to love children. Our job is to love them and not have these expectations. Some of the expectations that adults put on children are actually um, counterintuitive to what they're trying to accomplish. And we are better off following the child to a certain extent and allowing the child to develop their own interests because, you know, even if your child says they want to be a garbage man or uh, my two of my children said they wanted to be a chef when they grew up, and of course, in my back of my mind, I'm thinking, you don't want to be a chef. You work all these hours and you work weekends and you work
Yeah.
nights and you don't
Yeah.
make any money. And this is what my brain is telling me. But knowing, but encouraging those interests, children change their mind and the way the human brain is designed for deep interest, not this what we give in school is this a mile wide and an inch deep sort
Right.
of thing.
Right.
And so whenever you can encourage your children to go deep, it will have exponential rewards. And I guess the other thing I would say is if your child is really suffering in school, take them out of school and find an alternative because school is this one bad year can really impact um, negatively a
Hmm.
child's future. And
Hmm.
as you know, I mean, you said you had this bullying and
Hmm.
stuff in the third grade.
Hmm.
Like now it helped to make you who you are,
Right.
but could there have been a better way, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. There
So
wasn't really homeschooling much when I grew up.
no. And the great thing about California is we have a lot of opportunity. We have a lot of free public options in the state, um, and just being able to move a child. I had a situation with my youngest child where she was miserable in school, and she was in the regular ninth grade comprehensive high school down the street from us,
Mm.
because I work a big job and I couldn't homeschool, 5 days a week or anything.
Right.
And so she went to that school, and she was always very good student, capable, had a nice group of friends. She did Irish dance, so
Mm.
her friends from Irish dance were um, her solid group since she was 5 years old, and they stayed together. But at school, she had no friends. I found out later she was eating lunch in the bathroom stall. Isn't
Mm.
that awful?
Yeah.
And
Sorry.
she was miserable, and and so I pulled her out and put her in a charter school where they had a hybrid program like what we have, 4 days in the classroom, but it was local to where I lived. I don't have a program in our network near me. And so anyway, she thrived. She blossomed like a
Good.
rose,
Right.
in
Absolutely.
that school, because what it ended up being when we have these conversations later with her is it ended up being the yelling and the way the teachers yelled and talked to the kids in the
Mm.
classes
Mm.
in the comprehensive high school, which another child would not have been upset by, because that other child, they weren't yelling at her. Okay.
Mm.
She was never the one they were yelling at, but this
Mm.
caused tremendous stress. She's
Mm.
kind of a tender heart.
Yeah. Yeah. Me
And
too.
so
I get that.
I wouldn't have been stressed by that. She
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
So this new environment didn't have that. The teachers did not yell at the kids. So,
Right. Right.
um, anyway,
And
so
she
it,
was able to blossom and
right. So
flourish and
that's, so
thrive.
just, look at, really keep your eye on your child, and don't hope that it's going to all work out if you
Right.
just hope hard enough or whatever. If you have options, which you do, most people in California do have options, take them. Um, Try something else.
I love it. Thank you so much, Kathleen, for
Welcome.
sharing your heart, for sharing your love for your kiddos, and the school kiddos, and just, yeah, everything you shared in your journey. Thank you so much for carving out some time for
Well,
us.
thank you for asking me here. I appreciate you.
You were born to. You were